Welcome to the deep dive. We've got a really fascinating case to dive into today. You listeners sent us a whole bunch of documents about this housing discrimination case in East Baltimore, and it's complicated.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah, so we're going to do our best to unpack it all, right? We're talking legal complaints, exhibits, correspondence, the whole nine yards.
Right, we're trying to get to the bottom of what went down here.
Exactly. And lucky for us, we've got expert speaker here to help us navigate all this legal stuff.
Happy to be here. You know, this case really gets at those systemic issues that can really make or break fair housing situations.
Right, and it's important. So from what I'm seeing, this case involves four African-American homeowners who bought homes that were part of this big community redevelopment project, right?
Right.
And they're alleging that they faced discrimination, like straight up because of their race, from both HEBCAC, that's the Historic East Baltimore Community Action Coalition,
Right.
and Eager Street Development. So expert speaker, where do we even begin with something like this?
Well, a good place to start might be the Maryland Historic Tax Credit.
Okay.
It's this program to help encourage people to fix up these old historic buildings.
Okay.
And in this case, the homeowners were supposed to take the money they got from this tax credit and give it to HEBCAC.
Oh, okay.
And in exchange, HEBC would do all these renovations.
So it's like a financial agreement kind of tied to this whole redevelopment thing?
Exactly, yeah. And this is where things get a little sticky. The homeowners are saying that they were, like, unfairly singled out.
Okay.
They were sued for not paying this tax credit money back. But, and this is a big but,
Yeah.
there were some white neighbors who also didn't pay,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't get sued.
Yeah.
In the documents, they specifically named David Carr,
Okay.
Tim Kish, and Rafael Ortiz.
Wow. So that's a pretty serious accusation. So right from the get-go, they're saying there's this pattern, right? This, like, different treatment.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're saying.
Okay.
It's not just about money on paper.
Yeah.
This gets really real because these homeowners also had warranties on their homes.
Right. Right.
And they're saying that HEBCAC didn't handle those warranties the same way. They see it as just more evidence of being treated differently because of their race.
So let's talk about these warranties. What exactly are they saying happened?
So basically, they had to use contractors that HEBCAC chose.
Wait, so they couldn't even pick who fixed their own home?
It seems that way.
And
And if they didn't, then those repairs might not be covered.
Oh, wow.
And to add insult to injury, they're saying that the work done by these HEBCAC chosen contractors, it wasn't always that great.
Yeah, it makes sense if they're being forced to use certain people.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did they try to get those repairs fixed?
Yeah, they tried to get HEBCAC to approve more repairs,
Okay.
because they had the warranty. But they claim HEBCAC kept saying no. They said the repairs were cosmetic.
Cosmetic, but they were covered by the warranty, right?
That seems to be the case, yeah.
Yeah.
And to make matters even more suspicious, they're saying that some white homeowners were getting those exact same cosmetic repairs approved without a problem.
So two different sets of rules. One for them and one for their white neighbors.
It definitely seems that way. And it gets worse. Not only were the repairs a nightmare, but they also claimed that HEBCAC took forever to do anything.
Ugh, that's the worst.
They said HEBCAC wouldn't respond, contractors wouldn't show up.
Oh, it's one thing after another. So frustrating. You think a community organization would be a little more helpful, right?
You would think so. And then you add on this whole other layer of their complaints, which is about these deed writers.
Deed writers, what are those?
Okay, so basically it's like an extra clause, right? Like an amendment to the deed of your house.
Yeah.
And that clause puts limits on what you can do as the owner.
Okay.
And in this situation, these deed writers were added on because of those unpaid tax credits we were talking about before.
So if they didn't pay back the money, this deed writer thing was slapped on there.
Yeah, exactly. And the homeowners are saying these deed writers could really hurt them in the long run. They might make it hard to refinance their house, or even sell it.
Right, because who wants to buy a house with strings attached?
Exactly. And this is where that disparity comes up again. They're saying that a lot of white homeowners, they didn't even have these deed writers, or they were able to get them removed. But these homeowners, along with 12 other African-American families, they were stuck with them.
Hold on, so let me get this straight. They're saying they were treated differently with the tax credits, they were treated differently with the home repairs, and now on top of all of that, they were hit with these deed writers, these financial penalties that other homeowners who just happened to be white didn't have to deal with.
That's exactly what they're claiming. And they felt strongly enough about all of this that they actually sent letters to HUD.
HUD.
Yeah, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, even to the Attorney General's office.
Wow. They really took their concerns seriously. So what happened? Did anyone listen?
Right, they went straight to the authorities with this. And it's a smart move because these deed writers, they can be a real problem for homeowners. Think about it.
Right.
What if you need to refinance when interest rates drop, but you can't because of this thing?
Yeah, it'd be like having this weight tied to you, right?
Yeah.
Holding you back. So they went to HUD. They even went to the Attorney General. Did anyone do anything about it? Did HEBCAC ever respond?
They did. In April of 2019, the HEBCAC board actually sent out an email to the people who were complaining.
Okay.
And in the email, get this, they promised they would deal with the repairs, even said they'd extend the warranties.
Wow. So at least they're trying to fix things, right?
That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah.
Wanting to make things right finally. But here's the thing.
What?
The homeowners say those promises were empty. Like nothing really changed for them.
Come on, really? After all that?
Yeah, they claim that even after that email, the repairs were still bad, HEBCX still wouldn't communicate, and they still felt like they were being treated differently.
It's like they just weren't listening at all. That's really disappointing to feel like you're being ignored by the organization that's supposed to be helping your community. So what did they do? They took their case to HUD, right? What happened with that investigation?
Well, that's where things get even more complicated. The homeowners weren't happy with how the HUD investigation was handled at all.
Really? Why? What didn't they like about it?
Well, for one thing, they're saying that the HUD investigator relied way too much on a previous investigation that the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights had already done.
The MCCR, okay.
Yeah, and they felt like that MCCR investigation had already been biased against them from the beginning.
Oh, interesting. Why did they think the MCCR investigation was biased?
They felt like the investigator hadn't really taken their concerns seriously and had basically just accepted HEBCAC's side of the story. In fact, they specifically asked HUD to interview a former HEBCAC board member, a woman named Carmen Williams.
Okay. And who is this Carmen Williams? What's her connection to all of this?
Well, Carmen Williams is a black woman who used to be on that HEBCAC board.
Okay.
And the homeowners thought she could really help their case because they believed she had seen this kind of discrimination happening firsthand.
So they're saying, look, talk to someone on the inside, someone who is actually there. So did HUD ever interview her?
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
In fact, the homeowners say that the HUD investigator didn't conduct a single in-person interview at all.
Oh, wow. Really? You'd think they would have wanted to talk to someone directly, to get all sides of the story. What about the condition of their homes? Did anyone even go out there and look at the repairs, to see if they were as bad as the homeowners were saying?
That's another thing that really upset the homeowners. They said that nobody from HUD ever came out to actually see their homes to assess the situation themselves.
It's like they just weren't taking it seriously. So what was the final verdict, so to speak? What did HUD conclude?
So the HUD investigation ultimately came back with a finding of no reasonable cause.
No reasonable cause. What does that even mean?
Basically, it means that they didn't find enough evidence to say that discrimination had actually happened. And it's a big deal for someone who's bringing a complaint because it means that HUD isn't going to take any legal action on their behalf.
Wow, that must have been a huge letdown for them. So what could they even do at that point? So they hit a brick wall with HUD. What can you even do when the people who are supposed to help you don't?
That's the thing about these kinds of situations. Even when you have laws and systems in place, it doesn't always mean justice is going to be served. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that no reasonable cause thing, it doesn't mean that someone's innocent. It just means that HUD can't really do anything more about it. It's kind of like it puts even more pressure on the homeowner. Like now they have to prove it even more. And that's expensive.
Right, going to court and all that. So what did they do? I mean, did they just accept that?
Well, based on what we're seeing in the documents, it looks like they decided to fight back.
Really? Good for them.
Yeah, they went ahead and filed the lawsuit. And in it, they laid out all their claims, everything they went through.
Wow.
And, it's really important for us to remember here, we're only getting one side of the story, right?
Right.
We haven't seen HEBCAC's side or Eager Street's response, to any of these claims.
Right, this is just what the homeowners are alleging.
Exactly. But even without hearing the other side, you start to see a pattern here.
Yeah.
You have all these families, and they're all saying pretty much the same thing.
Right, that they were treated differently than their white neighbors.
Exactly. And then you have to start asking yourself, is this just a few random things, or is there something bigger going on here?
Right, like a systemic problem.
Exactly. And that's what makes this case so important. It makes us really think about the history of housing in this country
Right.
and how even if nobody's saying we're going to discriminate, The way things are set up, the rules, the policies, they can still lead to people being treated unfairly.
It's like that saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Even if nobody meant to discriminate, it doesn't make it right.
That's it, exactly. And sometimes it's the little things, right? Like we were saying before, that cosmetic repair being denied.
Mm.
By itself, maybe it's not a huge deal, but when you see that same thing happening over and over to the same group of people,
It makes you wonder.
yeah, it makes you wonder. So these cases, they're so important because they make us look in the mirror a little bit,
Mm.
as a society, and ask ourselves some tough questions.
Right. So for our listener who sent us this case, what happens now? I mean, where does it go from here?
Well, the legal stuff, that's going to keep going. But even outside of the courtroom, I think this case has a powerful message. It tells us how important it is to know your rights, to ask questions, to speak up when something isn't right.
Right. Don't be afraid to rock the boat a little.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because everybody deserves a fair shot.
Mm.
Everyone deserves a safe and affordable place to live. That shouldn't be something that's only for a select few.
Couldn't agree more. And that's what the deep dive is all about. Diving into these complex cases and shedding light on these systemic issues. So for our listeners, we hope this has given you a lot to think about. Keep asking those questions and keep fighting for what's right. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.